Soundstripe.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and
Welcome back to the XandO Sports Show. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley, and I hope everybody is doing well. I spent that time of year, for all the football fans. We absolutely love it. We get the college football, and then we get the national championship, which I normally get excited about. But I did not do an episode of it this time because it was really a debacle. I really feel like Georgia, shout out to Georgia for actually getting the national championship and taking care of business. But I feel like I see why it wasn't televised that often, because like most time when I watched the actual national championships, you could see like all these commercials leading up to it, the build up, and then I actually forgot it was on that Monday. And then I was, the national championship is on, and they got out of hand probably in the second quarter. So shout out to Georgia. I'm glad you guys actually got a chance to, either defend your title and actually keep it moving with your program. And hopefully, Alabama will be back next year to at least compete, because I'd rather see Alabama and Georgia play against each other than TCU playing against Georgia next time. So that was a travesty, but moving on. Shout out to Georgia. Then we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs. Like I said, I watched a couple games on Saturday and Sunday, and it's 6-12 on Monday. So we actually will have the Cowboys versus the Bucs. That's why I'm shooting a little early, because I actually want to watch every bit of that one. But we'll get into that. But like I said, we got to watch some games Saturday, and pretty much I love the wild card because that determines who the contenders are versus the pretenders. Now, we all know the pretenders are the ones that had a good record, but they kind of like squeaked by. And the first game we're going to talk about is Seattle versus the 49ers. Now, I'm not saying that Seattle is a pretender, but they are not ready to take that next step yet. And unfortunately, Brock Purdy was. But Seattle, they played good, but they fell short 23-41. When I saw Geno tried to pretty much get all the game back in one play, unfortunately, it was a pick six. That's when all, HE double hockey sticks open up for him. So I think that with Geno, you have to understand that you can't get a touchdown back in one throw, especially if the team is ready for it. So sometimes you got to, work your way down the field. You have plenty of time, but those are the things that you have to build over time. Now, Geno, he's not like no 35-year-old quarterback. He's still learning, and he hasn't actually hit a lot of playing time in the Seattle system. So I think he'll be okay. I like him. I think the kid from Ohio State's probably going to get drafted there. But, if he doesn't pan out, I still think Geno could actually win you some games. And he can actually probably be above a game manager, but not an elite, if that makes sense. I think he can win you some games. So, but doing that, the rising star, Brock Purdy. Lord have mercy. He ain't got the best offensive coordinator, first of all. But not to take away from him, he was 18 of 30 for 322 yards on 4 total touchdowns. He had 16 yards rushing on the ground and, a pretty good rushing touchdown. But the thing is about Brock Purdy, I feel like he goes through his progressions. His coach tells him, like, hey, this is what you're looking for. If it ain't here, then go here. He does a very, very good job of doing that. He understands what he sees, and if it's not there, he just, pull it down and take off running. He also have Christian McCaffrey as his outlet. So I feel like he has a good game, and his ceiling could rise. And so Trey Lance, he's going to be out of there. But I really feel like the 49ers was ready, more prepared, and especially by having Christian McCaffrey. So I feel like, speaking of Christian McCaffrey, he ran all over them for 119 yards. Oh, Black Betty, lamb. Like I said, he was the biggest change, because they had Debo saying, they have Debo saying, let me change it. But the thing is about Debo, look at this double team, get to the second level. Oh man, I love it. But when he has Debo, now they have two threats, because Debo could run the ball in, he can, catch the ball. But now Debo doesn't have to worry about being a receiver. And every now and then, he can still run the ball. But that was a big gaping hole right there. Good Lord. And you don't broke when you're looking up at the Titantron. You know he got hawked at the end. But shout out to the 49ers. Hey, Seattle, you didn't play bad because the team that I'm about to talk about next actually played pretty bad. So next up on the list for the playoff games, the Jaguars versus the Chargers. Lord have mercy. First of all, when I watched this game, I saw it 27-0. I'm like, this is going to be one of either of those games. It's going to be a great comeback, or it's going to be like TCU versus Georgia. And I knew in my bones when they got their fourth turnover and only got a field goal, I was like, uh-oh. All they have to do is score. And I don't think that they could score on the Jaguars, in which they actually couldn't. Like, they had, I think 3 or 4 field goals. They only scored, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. The rest of them was 2 touchdowns on offense, a pick 6. And then I want to say it was rest of them was field goals. And Trevor, shout out to you. Because that's one of those games that's kind of like, it gets real ugly fast, but you got to stick with it. You can't let your head fall. And shout out to you because he stuck with it. I remember like it was yesterday, and I think I fell asleep on the game years ago. I was young, had to get into bed for school. Peyton Manning threw 4 interceptions in the first half against the Atlanta Falcons. He was trying to throw the vertical seam, just wasn't coming out of his hand right, and he threw 4 interceptions. I wake up in the morning, Peyton Manning found a way to come back, excuse me, and he actually won that game. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. And the fact that your offense had the biggest collapse because the quarterback is not bad for the Chargers. I actually like him. But for you to jump into that top 10 category, you have to put people away like that. There's no way you should be allowed to have that happen. If somebody spot me 27 points, if we lose, it's because I threw a pick 6 trying to score again. They just went in cruise control and got real conservative to stop running the ball you hit. Your running back can average 4 yards a carry. First of all, nobody can see him. I think his name is Eckler. Nobody can really see him. And the fact that he can run the ball pretty well, and the fact that you didn't run with him, that's very upsetting. But, I digress. I wasn't calling the plays, but there's no way I would have stopped doing what I'm doing. But however, that's one of those coulda, woulda, shoulda games. Chargers are going to have to get right back to the drawing board and figure out who is the face of their offense because Eckler can run it well. He got a good quarterback. Allen is getting a little long on the tooth, but he's still productive. Mike Williams, I don't know if he played. If he did, he was a little banged up. But they're going to need one more offensive threat. I think a guy just can take the top off of it. I think they'll be fine. If they can't find one in the draft, they can always sign Deshaun Jackson for 5 or 6 games because he can still run for a couple games. But moving on. The next game was the Dolphins versus the Bills. I actually like this game. I feel like the Dolphins had a whole lot to prove. And they almost did it. Their quarterback is not ready for that type of environment. I mean, if you coming in to fill in for, excuse me, if you coming in to fill in for a quarterback in the third or fourth quarter of the game 6 of the year, fine. Playoffs? That is one of the hardest games to fill in for because A, the backups don't get a lot of playing time during the year. 2, the environment is just different. It's win or go home. If you're in the 5th or 6th week of the season, I got next week. No. I don't think he played relatively bad, but they lost. There's no way that you can have a third string quarterback. Unless he's Michael Vick coming off the bench or something like that. That's only how I saw them winning this game. Like I said, the QB played a lot better than expected. He had 2 interceptions, but he did let that thing fly. I got to give it to him. He won't scared to throw that thing. There was times he was like, hey, I'm going to see who can go get it. But their defense kept them in it. Their defense did get after some people, and they did cause pressure. They did strip sacks. They took one to the crib. And I think the score ended up being 31-34 or something like that. It was a close game, and it took until the running back to actually give a second effort on that 4th down play to actually end the game. Because if not, it would have been a 4th and 1. They had a chance to make the stop and actually take another swing at it. They had 1 minute and 44 left. But they didn't have any more timeouts. Running back got the first down. They was able to kneel it. Game's over. All right, so the one game that I ain't gonna say I was disappointed, but I was disappointed. The Vikings versus New York. First of all, I was expecting to see at least my man Jefferson do the gritty at least 3 times. But he didn't. And the thing is, a lot of his routes, they were like, hey, we know he's going to go deep. He's a threat. We're going to double him. But when you're calling plays and they're doubling my guy going deep, I don't care if you got Thielen or whoever on the team. The tight end played good, but my guy's going to get the ball. They're doubling him deep. They're not going to double him deep and shallow. You got to find a way to get him the ball because if he catch the ball, he can still make plays after the catch. But I think he had 7 catches for 69 yards. He didn't play bad, but it's just, they game played for him. So some missed opportunities caused the Vikings to lose. However, I have to take my hat off to the 2 rookie coaches because they called some plays and those teams played some football and know those 2 rookie coaches. But the biggest play that the Vikings needed to make late was a 4th and 8, and it was third cousins. Lord have mercy. Like, matter of fact, I think I got the clip of it. Third cousins.
Hawkinson, he is not going to get there, and the Giants will take over.
It's 4th and 8, so I'm about to show you the replay one more time. He's hot right now.
I'm not quite sure. It's 4th and 8.
You
They're
clearly
trying to
see
set up Hawkinson on a little choice route, first man coverage.
So this tight end not only
it's a
does he
3-yard catch against man.
he
I'm not
has
exactly
to make
sure how that
miss
ball
and
does
then
not
fight
get
for
pushed
5 more yards.
past the yard to gain.
This is just not a good play on the behalf of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, there's no way that you should have made this throw. I wouldn't have been upset if you threw an interception trying to get the ball to the sticks. If you got a post route on and somebody's running wide open, cool. But if you got somebody, at least 2 routes at the sticks, those are the 2 routes that you're supposed to look at first. Not you drop back and throw a 3-yard out. Come on, man. Like, that was piss poor. I've never seen, they always say that, he get a lot of jump yardage, which is fine. Jefferson, these guys take short routes and then they take it to the house. But on 4th and 8, my first reaction is, okay, who is going to be at the sticks? What defense are they in? Do I got 2 high safeties or I got 1 high safety? If they got 1 high safety, it's the option. They could be in cover 3, cover 1 robber, or this cover 1 man. But the fact that he didn't even take none of that in consideration, it's like, I'm going to throw this out route. Your tight end been playing well, but your tight end, he ain't Antonio Gates that can make people miss like that. He's a good tight end, but he ain't man coverage. He ain't making nobody miss that close to him. But, I digress. Kirk Cousins, you stunk it up. Way to lose the game. It's not his fault, but at the end of the day, you get paid $30 million to make those plays. And you threw a route that my 6-year-old son could have thrown. That's unacceptable. But, they got sent home. They're the number 2 seed. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if they went on in the draft and got somebody to replace him later on or trade him because he's been there way too long to not win those big games. But, oh well. So, unfortunately, by the Giants beating the Vikings, we got to play the Giants next week. Yes, my Eagles. I'm excited for us to actually play because we actually had a bye week this week. So we get a chance to let everybody else heal up one more week. And I think that we have a strong chance of running this Super Bowl run. First of all, everybody has to come through Philadelphia. As long as we win, they got to come see us. We got the highest seed. So, prime example, when we went on the Super Bowl years ago, we had to play, who do we have to play first? Whoever it was a dome team. I think it was the Falcons maybe that year. Yeah, I think it was the Falcons. We won that game. Great. But guess what? The Falcons playing a dome. They had to come out in that 35-degree weather, and it got real for them. We love to run the football. They love to throw the balls. It's never a good idea to throw the ball 35 times in that brick weather with the wind blowing. So then we play against the good old Vikings. The Vikings come to us in that brick weather, and they play in a dome. Guess what? They got the hind part spanked. So when we played in the Super Bowl, we played against Tom Brady, and we did win, but we played in a dome. But if we played outside against Tom that year, we wouldn't have had an advantage because he played in New England. But I did like that everybody had to go through us. That's why I like having us the number 1 seed. So I I think that we got a good chance. But moving on, the last game I got a chance to watch was the Baltimore Ravens versus the Bengals. Now, I'm going to say I'm disappointed in the way they've handled the Lamar Jackson situation. That would be another video down the road. But first of all, just today they're finding out he has a grade 2 PCL. Everybody was like, oh, he's going to miss X amount of days out of practice. You know, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. Newsflash, the only reason why they said that today after the game is the fact that if he says he has a grade 2 PCL sprain, that means nobody's going to want to trade for him. If he goes to try to get surgery, he has to pass a physical before he's even eligible for a trade. So now he's playing hardball, which is, smart on his behalf. But I don't like the fact that you letting the business roll into your play. First of all, he didn't play that well. He played good enough to win this year, but he didn't play as well as he should have. And for him to demand $200 million, they didn't win well without you. But you putting up only 23.5 points, maybe 24 points as a starter, if you don't have a good defense, you're not going to win football games. That defense won a lot of games and covered up some of those turnovers. That's just me being personal and watching him play. He's a great player. But 24 points in the NFL, you will lose. I want to say my Eagles, we lost several games one year because we only put up 24 points. And we losing 24-35, 24-27. You got to almost put up 28 points a game to make it in this type of passing league. But we're going to see. But tonight, yesterday, the Ravens and the Bengals game showed me a little bit more about Harbaugh than it showed me about the Bengals. Harbaugh showed me that he can still compete without Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't think he can win with Huntley per se, but I still think he can win with a serviceable quarterback. Now, we're going to see. Now, Huntley, he showed some guts, but Huntley just ain't played enough to actually be in those big moments yet. But I think he'll be fine. But, unfortunately, it was tragic for Huntley when he almost had the quarterback sneak, and he goes over and they punch the ball out. But the thing is, once they punch the ball out, nobody's behind them. They pick it up, they take it pick six, and that actually won the game for him. I mean, not a pick six, but it was a fumble recovery for almost 100 yards, which was, very tragic. But, like I said, the Bengals found a way to play a gritty style of football along with the Ravens, and they survived. So I think that they could pretty much play with anybody. If they could play with the Ravens with a grungy, gritty game like that, and with their offense at 100%, I think they could beat anybody on that side. But, we're going to see. That's why it's a week-to-week league. But one game left this week. Like I said, the Cowboys versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady who want to go out with the stage of glory. So if he goes down tonight, I know for a fact he's going to air it out. He's going to air it out. Me personally, I've never wanted Tom Brady to lose so bad in my life. This might be the first night that I'll root for the Cowboys. Now, I ain't say the Cowboys gonna win, but I'm gonna root for them because I think the Tom should have sat down last year and went away with glory. He went out in the playoffs. The Rams beat him, but the Rams won the Super Bowl. So there's nothing embarrassing about losing to the champion. He should have stepped away last year, but this year he stunk it up. He didn't play terrible. He still threw a lot of yards, but it's just like he ain't played to the standard we used to. They say he's the GOAT. Unfortunately, we got spoiled with him playing well every year. It's kind of like an off year for him. I'm not going to say he's trash, even though I don't, pull for him like that. But looking forward to it. Like I said, but if Tom Brady ends Dak's season tonight, I would not be upset. I will be cheering. So either way, if Tom Brady loses tonight, I won't be upset. If Dak Prescott loses tonight, I would be very excited. I just wish that both of them could lose. But, unfortunately, football doesn't work that way. But in the meantime, I think you guys should make sure you go to our Twitter page. Follow us at XandOsports on Twitter. Not on Twitter, on Facebook. YouTube. As for Instagram, be sure to follow us on XandOsports on Instagram. And as for our Twitter page, unfortunately, we had to do XandOsportstalk for our Twitter page. But I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley. This is my time, and I am out of here.
Soundstripe.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of